Hello, thank you so much for joining us. This is Environment Today on Africa Independent Television. On this program, we x-ray environmental and public health issues that concern you and I daily, and we also seek experts' views on how best they can be addressed. My name is Nkoli Omodu, your regular host. As usual, I'll be your guide throughout the program. But first, we'll go around the world to bring you environment and public health issues that made the rounds in the last 1 week, and we will be right back. As the sun rises daily, our environment changes. Shall we say human, technology, or our negligence towards the environment caused us a lot of global warming, degradation, or pollution? I'm Nkoli Omodu, journalist, global environmental analyst, and host of Environment Today on AIT. Join me in the environment capital of discussion in Nigeria, Africa, and the world on what is happening in our society, how we can improve our environment culture. I speak to newsmakers, environmentalists, activists, and game changers. The bold moves, big issues, solution topics is all right here. Make Environment Today on AIT your weekly watch.
It saddens me that our wildlife and forests are disappearing, and that Nigeria has become a hub for wildlife trafficking. But together, we can change this story. We can lead our region with stronger laws that prosecute more offenders. Let's create a future where people and wildlife can thrive together. Please report wildlife crime and help make Nigeria a haven for wildlife. Because protecting nature protects us all.
The survey on the situation of highly hazardous pesticides, HHPs, in Nigeria revealed a high volume of import into the country between January 2017 and April 2022. Among the HHPs are chlorpyrifos, with imported quantity exceeding 4 million liters in the past 5 years. Widely used in homes and farms to control insects and pests, and in warehouses for food preservation. Exposure to the chemicals, according to experts, results in neural defects, raising the need for its ban to safeguard lives.
Chlorpyrifos is an organophosphate, and it has been widely used in homes and on farms. You know one thing, it is very effective. When we say otapiapai, one blow, 7 die. So everybody, we are like, it's so effective. When you use it, 10 days, cockroaches are still dying in my house. You just see cockroaches dying everywhere. It is good. For 3 months, I've not even seen one cockroach. Yes, but what about the hazards?
And that's why we are pleading for a policy framework for the Lagos State Ministry of Agric Development so that we can push, because as a matter of fact, for Lagos that lacks land space, organic farming is the best way. All states in Nigeria, especially the coastal state, organic is the way to go. And that's what we're asking for a strategic policy for.
At this gathering to disseminate the situation report, the Sustainable Research for Action and Development, STRADEV, Nigeria, called on the government to step up surveillance and regulations on chemicals in warehouses and their sale online.
NAFDAC has established a 1 part per million limit of mercury addition to cosmetics. We succeeded in removing cosmetics that have mercury on the shelves. But what happened? They basically migrated to online. They are all in Jumia, Konga, and all that. It's difficult to get NAFDAC to action to regulate online platforms. We want NAFDAC to help us regulate online platforms, both pesticides and mercury in products. Our hands are tied there.
Bearing in mind that the moratorium period is December 2024.
That's correct.
And I would urge all agencies here to emulate that proactiveness. We should take this back and not wait for that period when the moratorium period is over. We should start something.
The survey was carried out in 2023 by STRADEV Nigeria under the auspices of International Pollution Elimination Network (IPEN) to understand the status of import and use of chlorpyrifos preparatory to its ban in Nigeria.
Key players from different crisis and risk management institutions in Nigeria are at the Muhammadu Buhari Auditorium of the Nigerian Army School of Supply and Transport, Benin City, to discuss issues of crisis management during emergencies. The Director General, Emergency Crisis and Disaster Risk Management Institute, Chuksakawo, says the essence is to promote preparedness in the face of disaster.
So what we are doing here is trying to build the capacity, to build the competencies of various disaster responders to be able to know how to respond, how to mitigate, and be able to carry out disaster emergency responses seamlessly.
The Deputy Governor of Edo State, Godwin Somobayo, is represented by his Public Relations Officer, Dr. Austin Osegbe. He speaks on the Edo State government's efforts in effective disaster management.
The bill that was initiated yesterday at the State House of Assembly, I believe very sincerely that it is part of the conscious effort of the present administration to ensure that whenever there is disaster, the residents and citizens and communities in Edo State, the effect of such disaster is, mitigated.
Heads of some security and risk management institutions share their thoughts on the subject matter.
As we commemorate this significant milestone, we must appreciate the visionary leadership of the Director General and the Chief Executive Officer of this institution.
We will work together to ameliorate disasters and its effects to ensure the condition working environment in accordance with our core values and professional standards. That is why this institute today, there is need for us to have that collaboration. That is what we are doing here.
Some technical and practical disaster preparedness drills and crisis management simulation sections are held at the ceremony, which is the 5th annual Hybrid Nigeria Special Emergency Preparedness and Crisis Management Simulation Week and exhibition.
How do you put their way? Take the hand like this to the head. Let your hand be on the forehead. Take your other 2 fingers, place on the chin, and you tick the head up.
Deputy Governor Godwin Somobayo is among notable personalities awarded with honorary and professional fellowships. Usalse Sadu.
The unveiling of the antimicrobial policy AMR by the Minister of State for Environment, Isiaq Salako, a comprehensive policy necessary for combating drug resistance in the environment sector. Though antibiotics play a critical role in reducing the burden of communicable diseases globally, resistance to the drugs has over the years posed major challenge to public health. The 2022 Global Antimicrobial Resistance and Use Surveillance System report highlights alarming resistance rates to antimicrobial drugs, making treatment more challenging and increasing mortality rates.
AMR is listed by the World Health Organization as one of the 10 top threats to global health. According to the United Nations Environmental Programme, AMR is a global crisis that cannot be understood or addressed separately from the triple planetary crisis. The World Bank estimates that AMR could result in $1 trillion additional costs by 2050 and 1 trillion to 3.4 trillion gross domestic product losses by 2030.
Antimicrobial resistance, which is a One Health issue, need to be tackled by all the sectors. It is for this reason that FAO, since 2022, we support the Federal Minister of Environment to develop the National AMR Policy and the Strategic Plan 2023-2027.
Addressing these problems, according to key stakeholders here, require a range of interventions and multidisciplinary approach.
There is over 64,000 deaths that are directly attributable to antimicrobial resistance in Nigeria, and over 200,000 that are associated with antimicrobial resistance. So this is a very important information that we also need to look at and play our roles to reduce this burden of AMR across all sectors.
Surveillance system, we don't have any, although there are surveillance systems in the ministry, but the one that will particularly address AMR is one that is challenging. We don't have them there. The situation of our labs, which is the backbone of any surveillance system, we have 2 reference laboratories, the National Environmental Reference Laboratories under ESRIA, one on top of Kano. Assessment was done, and that there's no capacity to train of the staff there was also so poor.
While calling for all hands to be on deck, the minister says if properly implemented, the AMR policy will ensure protection of wildlife and ecosystems, reduce disease spreading, and improve health outcomes in Nigeria. The proposed oil governance structure termed Development Oil Approach suggests moving beyond mere extraction and revenue sharing to leveraging assets and technology as catalysts for comprehensive economic development and enhanced living standards for the citizens. The potential benefits of this new approach, according to the group, are far-reaching and will require strong political will to achieve.
This is the time for the government to say to itself, I will call upon President Tinubu to immediately embark upon a complete review of our oil and gas legal structure. Since Nigerians are concerned about NNPC being a regulator and operator, let us pass the PIA so the story will stop. Nothing has changed. It doesn't matter whether the state controls oil and gas. What matters is the impact that is made. And that impact is not occurring because the outsourcing of our oil and gas revenues to the PLCs, to the IOCs, is overwhelming.
They expressed worry that despite proven reserves of 37 billion barrels of oil and 188 trillion cubic feet of gas in Nigeria, the living condition of its people has remained below standard, raising the need for a total overhaul of the system.
The federal government borrowed $3 billion from Afrexim Bank. They are planning to borrow another $2 billion from the World Bank. We're running a deficit budget. It means that we're not deriving any benefit from the industry. And so if government is not making money from oil and gas, and Nigerians are suffering the brunt of government's inability to make money from the oil and gas industry, then it needs to be revamped.
Key principles of development oil approach as outlined in the policy paper include aligning oil and gas sector policies with broader national development goals, focusing on developing local content, as well as leveraging technology law to achieve business growth in all sectors of the economy.
So we came up with the technology guides to entertainment law and practice in Nigeria to ensure that startup funders and small businesses and SMEs and people that are leveraging on technology, they understand the regulations in that particular aspect. They understand their intellectual property needs and rights and how to safeguard it.
What we have done is to bring together our experiences in a book to ensure that we do not have a situation where we go back to another AMCON to salvage the economy.
To them, this new approach will bring about economic growth while also reaffirming Nigeria's sovereignty over its natural resources. For most of our history, humans lived in harmony with nature.
But we have shared in the balance, exploiting our planet for product and wealth.
Creating a climate catastrophe, driving species to extinction, and polluting our land, sea, and air.
The sight is clear. Time is running out.
We must go from harming our planet to healing it. We must protect what we have and bring back what we have lost to have more sustainable future where
Everyone can survive because there is only one Earth, and so we must protect it.
There's a massive desertification that's just coming in.
If you keep eating pangolin, you will not even see pangolin. And that means at the end of the day, we'll end up telling our children. We see open storybooks.
Join Nkoli Modu every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. on Environment Reports.
Hello, we welcome you to our social media platform for more information about our program Environment Today. On Facebook, you can reach us on Environment Today. On YouTube, subscribe, like, and share every of our episodes on Environment Today. Instagram, it is Environment Today. On Twitter, call your /Environment Today. And on WhatsApp, you can reach us on +234 8033 356 388. Catch up and do interact with us, and don't miss any of our environmental issues. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.
Welcome back. According to World Bank's Global Gas Flare Tracker report, Nigeria is placed among 9 countries that emit up to 75% of global gas flare. What does this mean for the country, and how can this be curbed? We caught up with an environmentalist, Mr. Chima Williams, who spoke to us on a number of issues, including how gas flare can be stopped in the country. He is the executive director of the Environmental Defenders Network. Hear him. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you very much, my sister, for having me.
First of all, I'd like to say congratulations on your new network, the Environmental Defenders Network. It's a pleasure to know you are still moving forward. So what do you make of the World Bank Global Gas Flare Tracker report, which talked about Nigeria as one of the 9 countries that contribute about 75% of gas flares that's globally emitted?
Yeah, well, thank you first and foremost for recognizing our new organization and a new initiative, which is still to keep the struggle for the environmental defenders to protect the environment and continue the struggle on environmental justice, from the communities and states of Nigeria to the world. Yeah, on the issue of the 2023, report that has put Nigeria among the 9, biggest flarers in the world, it didn't come to some of us as a surprise. Okay, rather, it came as a confirmation of the position that we've always maintained. When the multinationals and the Nigerian government claims that gas flaring had been reduced in Nigeria, we say, no, that's not correct. Okay, but yes, I agree that there are circumstances that makes gas flaring difficult in some areas. But to say that you've reduced the incidence of gas flaring, where is the intentionality in doing that? It is not just something that you wake up and say, we have reduced. What are the parameters that you've put in place, the calculations, which oil fields have you shut down because of their gas flaring emissions, to now reduce the gas flare footprint. Okay, so when you have not done that, you continue to deceive the populace, the people, and continue to talk about your reduction capacities when you have actually done nothing. And we dissent that also from the gas flare tracker that is managed by NOSDRA. Even though, yes, NOSDRA puts a disclaimer on the fact that the reports that the calculations that they've made may not be 100% accurate, but at least it is an indication to where we are going to. And the argument of reduction, again, boils down to the issue of, trying to dodge responsibility because there are penalties to be paid for the quantum of gas flared.
Okay, but Nigeria has actually put several dates to end gas flaring. Now we are talking about reduction. I think it was 2007 was the first date, and then they went ahead to 2010, then 2013. But we still have gas being flared today. We're talking about reduction. What happened to those dates of ending gas flaring?
Well, those dates, if we recall, came as a result of pressure from civil society, community people, both locally and globally, campaigning and calling for an end to gas flaring. And it had already gotten even to the crescendo where the National Assembly, it was the 8th Senate, that had passed the gas flaring prohibition and punishment bill, waiting for concurrence from the lower chambers, which never came, and that destabilized that process. Before this, too, as a result of pressure, there was an attempt by the Federal Ministry of Environment when they were enacting the Nigerian Environmental Management, bill, the processes towards getting a law that governs the environment in Nigeria. Now, that was purposely, as we later found out, that process, which was sponsored and supported by the multinationals, was just to push the government and shift the end date of gas flaring from 2008 to 2010. Okay? And when that did not succeed, because at the public hearing and review of that bill, it was adopted, hook, line, and sinker, that gas flaring should end. Immediately that bill is assented to by Mr. President. Okay? And that never happened, because after that agreement, every other effort to make that happen from the executive arm failed. It never worked. And some months later, the then Minister of Environment, a lady that I respect, was fired as minister. And for us, we think that it was because of, the agreement on ending gas flaring, which was the practical reason why the OPTS supported that bill. So it never saw the light of the day. So it is not actually that there's been no moves to end gas flaring, but the political will. That is why after several years, after many dates being shifted, now we are coming back to talk about reduction. Okay? Now, because we equally will remember that the last administration, Mr. President, in his first international outing on environment in 2016, after he became the president of Nigeria, did make the promise that gas flaring was going to end in Nigeria by 2020. And it got to 2020, Charlie Boy will say, you don't run away from 2020. So it ran away from 2020 to now 2030, and now it is 2060. So, and we are talking of reduction, okay, which has not happened in any case. You are saying it with your mouth. Nigeria has moved forward as one of the first African countries. There are two of them that had passed their climate change laws, okay? And then you are having the climate change law, and in one hand, and at the other hand, you are, searching for new oil finds in the country, using resources of the government, of the people of Nigeria, to search for something that will kill them.
Well, that does it on Environment Today for this week. Thank you for being a part of it. We'll be back here again, same time next week on this same station with a fresh package. Until then, please remember that environment is life. So do your bit, I'll do mine, so we can preserve it. From everyone on the Environment Today crew, here's wishing you the very best. Bye for now.